and record. All right, so then, yeah, we're just gonna wait 1 or 2 more minutes. We got quite a few people in here already. Hello, everyone. We got 20 people. Nope, 21, I lied. Hopefully everyone's having a good day so far. It's almost Friday. At least I'm pretty sure it is. My days, I'm assuming everyone else's days are like mine and you have no idea what day it is, you know. Yeah, so let's see. Just to make sure we don't waste anyone's time, I'm just gonna go ahead and get started with some of the housekeeping, and then I will pass it on to our lovely presenters, and we'll get started. So just so everyone knows, my name is Melissa Roscup. I am with the Community Foundation of South Puget Sound. I am the programs coordinator, and I just wanted to welcome everyone to this fun workshop. And well, this kind of falls a little bit under our Give Local event that's coming up this fall. It is not required to be a participant in Give Local to attend any of our workshops that are available. So you can feel free to attend any and all of them. They are all posted on our Give Local website, that is spsgives.org. And the next one after this is going to be, our next presentation is going to be next Tuesday, and that is going to be from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And it's called Give Local, How to Make the Most of This Opportunity. And so this is going to be focusing a little bit more of an expansion on learning key strategies on making the most of really any online fundraising event that you do, and using digital strategies to connect with your annual development plan. So that way you can kind of connect what you do online with offline, and pretty much everything, any kind of fundraising event that you have planned. Just another heads up that we are going to be recording this session, and I will be releasing the recording and any additional materials like the slides next week, early next week, either Monday or Tuesday. So that way you will have it available to rewatch and take as many notes as you want to. With that, I do believe, oh, one more thing I forgot. If you do have questions throughout this presentation, feel free to go ahead and pop them in the chat. We will have space at the end of the presentation to answer any and all questions, but we're also going to try and sprinkle in some time to answer stuff that's relevant at that time in the presentation. And so with that, I would like to go ahead and introduce Erika and Shanae.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see all of you today. I'm so excited to be able to present this topic. It's something that at Three Girls Media, we do day in and day out. And so we're going to be learning today about creating an effective content marketing strategy, specifically geared towards nonprofits as well. So my name's Erika Taylor Montgomery. I'm the CEO and founder of Three Girls Media. And my first career was actually in broadcasting. I was on air in San Francisco for 22 plus years before I was tired of getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning to be in the studio by 4 and on air by 5. So I left that for a more 9 to 5-ish job in the marketing world. And after working for a high-powered Silicon Valley PR firm, I became the press secretary for the California State Legislature. And when I couldn't stomach politics anymore, I decided to forge out on my own and found Three Girls Media. And that was a little over 15 years ago. And so I've got a lot of diverse experience, and I'm happy to share it with you today. And I'll turn it over to Shanae so she can introduce herself as well.
Hi, everybody. My name is Shanae Bemis. I am the Senior Director of Marketing and PR at Three Girls Media. My background is primarily in journalism. I got my degree in digital journalism from Central Washington University, and I've worked at small town newspapers. I also worked in a corporate environment at an award-winning marketing and PR department. And then I joined Three Girls Media, and here I am.
Great. So let's tell you a little bit about Three Girls Media and who we are as a company. As I mentioned, we've been in business a little over 15 years, and we're a full service marketing and public relations agency. So we do everything from content marketing, blogging for search engine optimization, public relations and media relations, customized marketing, website copywriting and design and build as well. We do strategic social media management and a lot more. So we have a lot of varied capabilities, and we've worked with many, many nonprofits over the years. So let's dive into what we're going to be sharing today. And so specifically, we're going to learn marketing tools. We're going to talk about a lot of free tools that you can use in your marketing, as well as a couple of paid ones. We're going to dive deep into how to create a content strategy. And then we're going to share both a monthly content guide that's a real life example of how you could prepare your content on a monthly basis, as well as a weekly content guide to help give you a plan on a week-to-week, literally day-to-day basis of what you can do to manage a full-blown content marketing campaign. And then we're going to talk about social media content and outlining that. And we're also going to share some popular social media hashtags and how you can really leverage those for your particular nonprofit when you're creating content on social media.
All right, so to get started, let's talk a little bit about content. So when we use the word content, we are referring to things like social media posts, graphics, blogs, print collateral, so things like direct mailers or brochures, email newsletters and other kinds of email marketing, videos, and other content pieces as well.
Great. So we're going to talk about some common content that are used by nonprofits quite a bit. And those include organic social media posting, blog articles, videos, infographics, email marketing campaigns, and user-generated content. User-generated content is content that's generated by your fans or maybe other people at your organization. Say, for example, a social media post that they put up of an event they were at that your organization put on, and you can reshare that post, and that's considered user-generated content. And so it's important to decide which types of content are best for your organization, and realistically what you can manage as well in terms of how many people are on your marketing team. Are you doing it all by yourself and trying to handle it all, or can you spread the wealth around? And so we're going to start getting into specifically how to create that content.
All right, so as Erika said, we're going to start talking about how to start creating content. So the first step is to create an audience persona. To do this, you're going to want to ask yourself who your audience is. You're going to want to think about where your audience spends time, both online and in person. So for example, which social media platforms do you think they're going to be using the most, or where they may be in person. So if they're an outdoorsy kind of person, or are they the kind of person who frequently goes to the mall. And you also want to be as detailed as possible. So for example, an audience persona of a hiker is a lot less detailed than an audience persona of a young middle-class man who enjoys outdoor activities and is always on the cusp of new trends. The second persona, the more detailed one, is going to give you a lot better idea of how you can reach them with your marketing and what marketing content will resonate with them the most.
And it's possible that you could actually have more than one persona for your particular nonprofit if you're trying to reach more than one type of person. But it's just important that whatever personas you create, they're really as detailed as possible to help you reach those particular markets. And so after you've created your persona, you're going to analyze your goals. And it's really important here to determine what you're trying to accomplish. And there could be multiple goals. Some of the most common goals for nonprofits are boosting donations, growing an email list so you have more contacts there, or increasing website traffic. And then to reach those goals, you have to consider which content is going to help you get there. So say, for example, writing blog articles consistently is a terrific way to grow your website traffic. On social media, it's a good way to grow your email list and solicit people to give you their email addresses through your website. And then through email marketing is a great way to draw donations into the organization. So like I said, it's possible to have more than one of these goals for your content, but you should be very clear on what your goal or goals are so you can work specifically towards achieving that.
So how often should you be producing each kind of content? Generally speaking, for blog articles, we recommend posting a blog article at least once a week. For newsletters, we recommend distributing those either monthly or bi-monthly. And for social media posts, you want to be posting to each social media platform at least once a day. Ideally, you should be posting multiple times per day per platform.
And we're going to get into that a little bit later and explain why that's so important, and talk a little bit about the different platforms and the frequency of posting for each of them.
All right, so now let's talk about tools. These are tools that you can use to help you create your content for your content marketing strategy. And we're also going to be talking about some free tools that are really great for nonprofits who maybe don't have huge budgets to apply for their marketing. All right, so for graphic design, the tool that we recommend is canva.com. It's a browser-based design and photo editing software. It also has thousands of free templates, photos, and graphical elements that you can use for your marketing efforts. Canva has a pro membership, so it does have paid content, which is $12.95 a month. By getting a pro account, it will unlock several advanced features, including the ability to upload your own fonts and logos, which if you have specific fonts or different design elements that you frequently use in your branding, that's a really important feature. For website and design hosting, we recommend WordPress or Wix. Both offer simple, easy to use platforms to help you get started. They also both offer free templates so that you don't have to build your site from scratch. Additionally, because of the popularity of both options, it's really easy to find online guidance and troubleshooting advice if you run into issues. Both also offer different avenues for customer service, including live chat and phone assistance. The two email marketing platforms we recommend are MailChimp or Constant Contact. Similarly to WordPress and Wix, both of these email marketing options offer easy-to-use browser-based interfaces. And it's really easy to get started, and they're both very intuitive and not complex. For social media management, our go-to tool is Hootsuite. It allows you to schedule social media updates for all of your social media platforms far in advance, which really simplifies management and takes the stress out of posting. When it comes to researching hashtags or keywords, we have two specific tools that we use. For keyword research, we use WordStream, and for hashtag research, we use allhashtag.com. These two websites will take the guesswork out of your content creation and give you accurate and specific data regarding the popularity of either hashtags or keywords. They both also offer recommendations for similar keywords or hashtags that you can use, which is really helpful when you're trying to build out lists of 50 to 100. Finally, we'd also like to recommend daysoftheyear.com and nationaldaycalendar.com. They're both great resources to find specific holidays that you can take advantage of for your marketing strategy. We'll go into more detail a little bit later on about how you can use holidays in your marketing strategy, and also some more information about nationaldaycalendar.com.
Great. So now let's talk about some paid tools that you can use if you need to. So first of all, stock photography. A lot of nonprofits have their own photos that they've taken around the office or at events or of the people in the office, and those are always fantastic to use. But if you do need stock photos for something, maybe collateral or maybe social media posts or to insert in a blog article. These are some great sources. There's 123RF, which is what we use at Three Girls Media. There's Shutterstock, iStock, and Getty Images. Now, each of these platforms have subscription models where you can pay to have a certain number of downloads per month, but you can also buy one-off images if you don't use enough photos that you really don't need a subscription for a certain number of downloads. You can just buy them one-off, and images really can be very inexpensive. Everything from, you know, maybe $5 or $10 all the way up to 15 or 20 if it's something that's more branded. But they're great resources for photography. Also, for creating videos, there's a couple of different solutions. There's Adobe Spark and Adobe Premiere Pro. Now, Adobe Spark Video actually has a free option, but with the free option, they put their own branding in it at the end of any video you create. So if you use the paid version, which is really inexpensive, you can upload your own branding and get rid of their branding, so you can really customize your video. The nice thing about Adobe Spark is that it really doesn't take any photo journalism experience or video editing experience at all. They make it very, very easy for a novice to create a video and make it sound and look really great. And then if you do have a little more experience with maybe video editing or the Adobe Premiere Pro suite, you can use Adobe Premiere Pro to really do amazing things with video. It's a little more expensive because it is a seriously pro solution, and it really should be used by people who have a little more experience, but there are a couple of options for you there. And then social media advertising, of course, is a paid thing that you can do. Most of the social media platforms have advertising options. And the nice thing is that you can choose specific advertising around content. So let's say that you have a really important blog article that your company has just written. You can choose to promote that on social media very inexpensively by, for example, on Facebook, boosting a post for maybe $10 or something like that to get a lot of visibility on it. You can also do that around events that you may be having or fundraising initiatives that you may be trying to drive. So social media and advertising is another great option for content that's paid.
Hey, Erica, I do have a couple of questions actually about Facebook, paid Facebook advertising in the chat.
Terrific.
Did you want to address those now?
Yeah, absolutely. What are the questions?
Yes. So it looks, they're all kind of like looks like a combined follow-up question to each other. And it says, I am frustrated by the need to boost Facebook posts to even reach our own followers. Is there an alternative approach? Additionally, what is the cause of Facebook boost denials and content restrictions as well as shares?
Okay. So the first part of the question, is there a way that you can get visibility on your content without actually paying? And the answer is yes. And you do that through the use of hashtags. And hashtags is something we're going to get into in a little bit here, but they're very important for visibility on almost every single social media platform. You can think of it when you go to Google and you do a search for something, you're typing in a word or two that's going to help you find what you're looking for. It's the same thing on social media, and that's where hashtags come in. So I'll answer more about that when we get to the hashtag portion of the content. And then the second half of the question was, what again? Can you please repeat that, Melissa?
It's, what is the cause of Facebook boost denials?
That's a great question. Facebook has several different rules for their advertising. Facebook has a great advertising site. You can go on and find specifically what they will deny, but anything that has to do with anything racially insensitive, they're very sensitive about COVID content right now. Anything that may be considered inflammatory or perhaps untrue, they'll ban. So there's a variety of reasons. I'd have to look at your specific content to give you a more specific answer, but you can go to Facebook's advertising platform and find out specifically all the reasons that Facebook will ban a boosted post or traditional advertising for that matter.
Awesome, thanks. And I know I brought up another question. I don't know if you want to address Facebook ads now or if you want to get back to those
Yeah,
at the end.
sure. Yeah, we can do that.
So another Facebook ad one was, I've heard that Facebook ads are not worth paying for if you don't have many shares already. How does this work? When is it worth paying for advertising?
Great question. So Facebook ads don't really have to do with how many shares you have or how many fans or followers you have. The key to Facebook advertising is a couple of things. Number one, you have to build a really great target audience. And this is where a lot of novices go wrong with Facebook advertising. They'll simply boost a post and let it go, and they don't take the time to build a target audience. You can build target audiences on Facebook for geographic area, for education, for income, for gender, for age range, for all kinds of demographics, and also for interests. You can choose interests like charitable giving if you're trying to boost an ad to get donations, or you can choose nonprofits for people that have shown an interest in nonprofits in the past. So take the time to build your custom audience. And then when you do boost your post or do a traditional ad, the audience is the ones who's going to see your particular advertisement, not necessarily people who already like your page. So it's going to open you up to a whole new world of people that don't already like your page, aren't familiar with your content, so you can reach an entirely new audience.
Awesome, thank you. I think that's about it on the Facebook ads. I do have another question further up about blog articles. I don't know if you want to if you want to go to that now or if you want to wait.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can address that now.
This one is the question, what's the logic behind weekly blog articles?
Great question. Okay, so when it comes to blogging, what's really important is consistency. And we're going to talk about that here a couple slides down, actually. And so why don't we move on? We'll get there in about 30 seconds, and I'll explain the importance of blogging on a weekly basis.
Awesome, thanks. I think that's it for now.
Okay, fantastic.
Alrighty, so really quick, let's talk about some strategy. We're going to share some best practices as well as our monthly and weekly breakdowns for content marketing strategies. We'll also be sharing a weekly social media outline that you can use as a starting point when putting together your own content calendar.
All right, so we're going to talk now specifically about some best practices as well as popular hashtags. And best practices will include that blogging question that you had. So in terms of best practices, the number one thing to remember is consistency, consistency, consistency. And this is especially true when it comes to blogging, but it's also true for things like email marketing and social media. So with blogging, it's really important to post not only on a weekly basis, ideally, but also the same day of the week and the same time of day. So say, for example, every Thursday at 10 a.m., you would have a post going live. Now, the reason for this is because the major search engines like Google, Yahoo, and Bing put a priority in search results on sites that regularly publish new content. And if you start doing this consistently for a while, you can actually train what are called search engine spiders to come back to your site at those regular intervals and catalog the new content. So the search engines will actually seek you out every Thursday at 10 a.m. once you've been doing it for a little while and recognize, oh, this nonprofit has new content Thursdays at 10. It's Thursday at 10 o'clock. I better go back there and see what's posting now so I can catalog it and use it for search results. So that's why it's so important to have that consistency. And if once a week sounds like too much for you and you just can't handle blogging that much, that's perfectly okay. You can do it every other week, or as a last resort, even once a month is fine, as long as you're doing it on that consistent basis and posting the same day of the week and same time of day. So say, for example, the first Wednesday of the month at 10 a.m., you're always going to have a post go live. So it's just a matter of how much capacity you can handle, but it's really consistency that's the key. And then also some best practices when it comes to social media. A lot of organizations make the mistake of only posting all about themselves and what they're doing, and they don't post anything else besides that. So what we really recommend is following what we call the 80-20 rule. And the 80-20 rule says that about 20% of the time, you absolutely want to talk about your organization. You want to talk about what you're doing, any events, behind the scenes looks, everything that's going on with your organization. And then about 80% of the time, you want to share information that's relevant to your audience, but not necessarily directly about your organization. So I kind of equate this to being at a cocktail party. If you're at a cocktail party or a networking event and you run into somebody and all they're doing all night long is talking all about themselves, it's going to get pretty boring pretty quickly and you're going to want to tune out. It's the same on social media if all you're doing is talking about yourself. So you can share other types of content that again are of interest to your audience but aren't necessarily directly about your organization. And to help you do that, it's very helpful to be able to repin, retweet, and repost. This way, you don't have to come up with brand new content yourself all the time. So repinning is something that you do on Pinterest, where somebody has a pin that they've already put up, and you simply reshare it, and you write your own introduction to it and repin it to one of your own boards. Retweeting is the same thing, where somebody else has written a tweet. You can share that, write your own comment about it, and post it to your particular audience. And reposting is something you can do on LinkedIn or on Facebook. You can share a post and again, rewrite your own intro to it and then share it on your own timeline. And so a lot of questions come up about, well, what kind of content should I be sharing if it's not all about my organization? So here are several different types of content that you can share. Any kind of feel-good stories that you may have about your particular nonprofit itself, or that are involved in your scope of work. Let's say, for example, that you're a cancer-based nonprofit. You could share a feel-good story that was maybe out in the news of a survivor or something like that, that may not be about your organization, but still, again, is related. You can share short videos that you can create yourself using Adobe Spark. You can create infographics. If you've never created an infographic before, a great tool for that is canva.com that we've already talked about. They've got amazing templates that are very easy for you to just fill in the blanks to create your own infographics. You can share news stories that you may find. You can share testimonials. You can do contests or promotions, holidays, and I'll talk about holidays more in just a second. And then, of course, behind the scenes content. People want to know what's going on behind the scenes at an organization. So it's great to share maybe a headshot of all the important people in the office and do a little story about them on social media one at a time. Or you can take pictures around your office so people know what it looks like. You can talk about any initiatives that you have that you're going to be rolling around, or any events that you may have going on. And then with holidays, holidays are always fun to play with, especially on social media. And there is literally a holiday for everything you could possibly imagine. There's National Sugar Cookie Day. There's National Talk Like a Pirate Day. There's National I Love My Dog Day. And you can have a lot of fun with it. And so the two websites that we'd recommended earlier, daysoftheyear.com and nationaldaycalendar.com, will not only tell you what specific month it is, like August is pool month or barbecue month or peach month or whatever it may be. And they'll also tell you for each specific day of the month what special days it is. And you can actually create your own holiday for your very own nonprofit organization. you can do that on nationaldaycalendar.com. There's a tab up at the top on the website that says something to the effect of create a holiday. So you can literally create National Dog Foundation Day or National Breast Cancer Day. There's obviously one of those already, but you get the gist. You can create whatever it is for your organization specifically if there's not already a day that exists. And so it's free to do. There's absolutely no charge. And it's a great way to draw some notoriety and attention to your particular organization. And it's a lot of fun to be able to say that, hey, our organization has its very own holiday. So it's kind of fun to do, and you can certainly check that out on nationaldaycalendar.com.
And Erika, we have a quick question about the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
So we got, does 80-20 apply as much to Instagram? I see mostly original content rather than reposted content on Instagram in reference to feed, not stories from pure organizations.
Yeah, so good question. So on Instagram, the 80-20 rule still does apply, but you don't necessarily have to repost somebody else's content on Instagram. You're absolutely right that it's mostly original content. So keeping that 80-20 rule in mind, you want to create original content for Instagram for the most part.
And it has a follow-up question of, should we be posting 4 times reshared content in stories for every original feed post?
You know, I wouldn't say there's necessarily a right or wrong number, because the 80-20 rule can be fudged a little bit. You know, you can always do 70-30 if you need to, or something like that. And we're going to get into here in just a few minutes the actual number of posts that you should be posting per day per platform, and we can discuss that a little in depth. But it's just a general rule to go by. So say, for example, out of every 10 posts that you're going to do, 2 of them should be self-promotional and 8 of them should be non-self-promotional, give or take. You know, I mean, if you don't follow exactly the 80-20 rule, it's certainly not the end of the world, and you can morph it slightly for your organization. But it's just a good policy to keep in mind to keep that variety going.
Awesome. And we had another question about contests. They asked, what are some of your ideas for contests?
Oh, great question. You know, there are so many different contest ideas, and you can do little giveaways, especially if you have branded tchotchkes or swag that you can give away, you know, a little t-shirt or a coffee mug or something like that. You can do a quiz of some kind, maybe about that has to do with your nonprofit and what it is you stand for and what you do. You can offer a little quiz and say the first person who answers the quiz right wins, you know, a pen or a coffee mug or whatever it is. You can run polls. You can do things related to, you know, questions. Questions are always really popular. And asking a question and seeing who gets the question right. It's, again, a kind of trivia thing. Shanae, what other ideas do you have for a contest specifically?
I think it depends kind of on the subject matter, but I know a really pretty traditional contest is an art contest. So whether that's from adults or if you want to get kids involved, you can ask on social media, submit your artwork, and then we'll pick a few winners. We'll post the artwork on our page, and then we'll send you send the winners some sort, like Erika was saying, some sort of small prize, whether that's, you know, like a mug, or you can do things like $5 Starbucks cards. Maybe not for kids, you don't want to be giving them too much caffeine, but small things like that. I know art contests are very very popular for that reason.
One of our clients actually did a really amazing art contest. They're a nonprofit, and they specifically provide breast reconstruction for breast cancer patients who have had to have a mastectomy. And so one of the contests they did was called the Bling a Bra contest, where you decorated a bra and people shared pictures of their decorated bra on social media, and then they picked a winner and gave them a little prize. So you can get really creative with it. Again, you know, it may depend on your particular nonprofit. And if you wanted me to give you some specific ideas and kind of brainstorm with you for your specific nonprofit, you can email me and Shanae when the presentation's over. We're going to give you our email addresses, and I can learn a little bit specifically about your nonprofit, and we can brainstorm some ideas for you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about specific numbers and how frequently you should be posting each day and how many hashtags you should be using.
All right, so as far as post frequency, we would recommend that for Facebook, you should be posting 2 to 3 times per day. For Twitter, we would recommend between 3 and 5 times per day. For Instagram, 1 or 2 times a day. For LinkedIn, 1 or 2 times a day. And for Pinterest, 2 to 3 times a day. For Pinterest specifically, we do want to mention that your 2 to 3 posts can include repins. They don't all have to be original content. So the reason why we recommend up to 5 posts a day on Twitter, for instance, or 3 posts a day on Facebook is because each post that you put up only appears in users' feeds for so long. We call this the lifespan of a post. By posting multiple times per day, you increase your chances that your content will be seen by the people who follow you. So you really want to make sure that you have content spread out throughout the day. So if someone only gets on in the morning, they see it, or if they only get on in the afternoon or evening, there's also something for those people to see. For hashtags, there are specific numbers of hashtags that we would recommend for each platform. For Facebook, we would recommend between 2 and 3 hashtags per post. For Twitter, very much the same, 2 to 3 hashtags per post. For Instagram, we would recommend between 25 and 30 hashtags per post, which this definitely seems like a lot. However, Instagram is incredibly hashtag oriented, and it's really the primary way that you're going to get new eyes on your content on Instagram. For LinkedIn, we would recommend between 2 and 3 hashtags per post, and then for Pinterest, between 5 and 10 hashtags per post.
Great. And I saw a question come through. Did somebody have a question? I didn't see exactly what it was.
Yeah, so there's a question that says, how are some of these guidelines affected with the current climate of COVID? What we have struggled with is keeping things alive and active when a lot of these areas, businesses or groups are closed and they work bare minimum. So there isn't much to quote unquote share. It says we don't have a lot to talk about and you can only do so many Throwback Thursdays.
Right, absolutely. Well, there are a lot of other things that you can do on Thursday besides Throwback Thursday, but COVID is still definitely a challenge. Not only are a lot of people working from home and working unusual schedules, and there's more work to go around to fewer people, but also viewing patterns are off on social media. This is absolutely true. And right now we're experiencing this with some of our clients at Three Girls Media, where numbers may be dropping in terms of engagement on social media, not only because of summer, which is generally sort of an off season because people go on vacation and the kids are at home and other things are going on, but also because of COVID and people are working from home a lot. And so their normal social media patterns have been disrupted. So these numbers that we're giving you here are the perfect scenario, right? They're the absolute best practice that you could do. But that doesn't mean that if you cannot follow this, it's going to be a total failure. You really have to do what you are able to do and do that consistently. So if you can only manage 1 Facebook post a day, then that's fine. That's what you can do. And just make sure that it's consistent and that you don't miss a day and that you're posting at the optimal times of day, which we're going to get to in just a few minutes here. So don't feel bad if you can't meet these numbers right now, especially with COVID. Just the consistency and staying consistent is important, even if it's just a post a day. Sorry about that. Had to mute my phone. Okay, so speaking of hashtags, we're sharing some popular hashtags here, but you can also refer to the couple of sites that we talked about earlier and on the tools. Allhashtags.com is a great resource to help you come up with hashtags. So here are a few that are very common and that we see a lot of use of. Now, you're going to need more than this. What we recommend, especially if you're managing an Instagram account, is that you come up with a list of 70 to 100 hashtags that you can use interchangeably. And why so many? Well, because we're recommending 25 to 30 hashtags per post. And unfortunately, you cannot use the same hashtags over and over and over again on Instagram. Because if you do, you're going to risk what's called the shadow ban on Instagram. A shadow ban is when Instagram sees that you're using the same hashtags repeatedly and they actually ban your content and they hide it from anybody on Instagram. And it's happening more and more frequently as Instagram has cracked down on this pretty seriously in the last 6 to 8 months or so. So that's why we recommend coming up with a list. You can put it in a Word document or Excel spreadsheet or whatever works for you, where you can sort of mix and match hashtags that are appropriate for your nonprofit and the causes that you are aligned with, and then mix them up as you use them. It's not as important on other social media platforms that, if you use the same hashtag a couple days in a row, nothing bad's going to happen on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or something like that. But you have to be especially careful on Instagram. So this is just a little smattering of some of the most popular hashtags that we've come up with, but there are a lot of others that you can get on allhashtags.com. And it's a really neat search tool. All you have to do is type in one word, say, for example, cancer, and it's going to generate for you 100 different hashtags that are cancer related. So it's a very, very easy tool to use and a real lifesaver when it comes to trying to populate a large list for your nonprofit organization. And then the other thing that we just talked about was COVID-19. So it's really important to keep an eye on relevant developments and being flexible and ready to make changes to your strategy overall, whether it's your hashtag strategy, whether it's your posting strategy and how frequently you're doing things. Because as I mentioned, traditional engagement patterns have definitely been heavily impacted by the pandemic. So if you notice that your engagement has been a little bit lower this spring and summer, don't freak out over it. It's just the way of the world right now. But what you can do is take a look at your overall strategy for small ways that you can either create more engaging content to boost your engagement, maybe the use of more hashtags to help expand your content to a larger audience, and then also making frequent use of things like photos and videos. Photos and videos are some of the most popular content.
So I think Erika may have froze, so we'll give her a minute. But as she was saying, photos and videos are
On every single.
Oh, are you back?
Am I back? I'm sorry.
You're back.
Okay, I'm back. Yes. So photos and videos are some of the most popular content on every single social media platform. So they get much more engagement than something like just a text post or an article or something like that. So if you notice your engagement is a little off, you can try posting more photos and videos or infographics as well, which are another really visual way that you can share content. Another type of content that does really well for engagement is behind the scenes content. And we talked a little bit about that, sharing pictures of the people in your office, talking about your building and showing pictures of what it looks like, or talking about initiatives you have going on. And people always want to know what's happening behind the scenes, or even doing a shout out, if you have a particular person on your team whose birthday it is. You can simply make a post out of that so people know you have a celebration happening at the organization. Those kinds of things really surprisingly get a lot of content, and they're very low-hanging fruit in terms of creating content for sure. All right, so now we are going to get into the nitty-gritty of how you can actually manage a content marketing strategy on a weekly and monthly basis. So for the example that we are rolling out today for you, we've assumed that you're going to want to do an e-newsletter each month, that you're going to want to write blog articles each month, and that you're also going to want to be doing social media on a daily basis. So here's how you can break it down and actually manage this realistically from week to week. Now, keep in mind before we dive into this, what this is going to ask of you is that you have 4 to 5 hours a week, either by yourself or that combined along with your team, whoever's helping with marketing, that you've got to combine 4 to 5 hours each week to dedicate to this type of content marketing. And if that's not realistic for you, that's perfectly fine. Again, if you can't blog on a weekly basis, then maybe instead you're blogging every other week or once a month. If you can't handle, as much social media posting, that's fine. You can always dial that back and so on and so forth. But here's how realistically you can do it week by week over the course of the month. So in week 1 of the month for your blogging, you're going to brainstorm the topics for your month. So you're going to come up with 4 to 5 different blog topics, depending on how many weeks are in the month. And then you're going to draft your post and go ahead and get it published. And then also for your e-newsletter in week 1, you're going to note any particular holidays or events you have coming up, any special occasions. You're going to outline the other content that's going to go in your newsletter, and then create any imagery that you need for it, either by gathering it, getting stock images, or getting into a system like canva.com and creating graphics. And then for your social media, you can note any holidays and events that are coming up. You can draft and schedule your social media posts. And we always find it best when we're working for our clients to work a couple weeks in advance. So instead of saying, okay, it's Monday and I've got to get social media done for this week, it's not a good idea to try to scramble last minute and throw it all together. So ideally, you'd be preparing social media a couple weeks in advance, which would give you the opportunity to schedule it using a tool like Hootsuite. So after it's scheduled, you can set it and forget it, and all you have to do is monitor your fan engagement. So try to get into a schedule where you're working at least a couple weeks in advance, as opposed to literally week to week and trying to scramble to do content. And then in week 2 for blogging, you've already got your topics that you did in week 1. So you're going to take one of those topics and draft and publish another post. For your e-newsletter, you're going to draft the content, add any new contacts to your distribution list. And then for social media, you're going to draft and schedule your posts for the following week. Week 3, you're going to draft and publish another blog post using those topics you came up with in week 1. For your e-newsletter, you can proofread your content and then schedule the distribution. And then for your social media, draft and schedule the content for the following week. And then lastly, in week 4, you can draft and publish a blog article. You're going to distribute your e-newsletter. You're going to draft and schedule your social media posts for the following week. And then you're also going to check your analytics. And your analytics could be a few different things. For those of you that have Google Analytics set up on your websites, it's going to be great to keep an eye on that specifically for your blogging efforts and seeing new traffic coming to your site and which blog articles are the most popular. And then also looking at your social media analytics and looking at things like new followers, looking at engagement, looking at year-over-year comparisons or month-to-month comparisons and see how you're doing this month compared to last month, and so on and so forth. So this is just sort of a guideline that you can follow. And of course, you can always amend this to your specific needs and situation if this is too much for you and you can't handle it all. But at least it gives you a guideline and a breakdown for where you can get started.
All right, so for the two pieces that you'll be doing on a weekly basis, blogging and social media, we've gone ahead and we've also broken those down on a day-to-day basis. So on Mondays, you should be drafting your post outline. And then for blogging and for social media, you're going to be checking for industry articles that you can share on your social media, as well as pulling together any other content topics that you'd like to share for the upcoming week. For Tuesday, you'll be researching your post content, and then creating images for social media. On Wednesday, you're going to go ahead and start drafting your blog post, and the first couple times you do it, it's going to take longer, but you should plan ahead for at least an hour to an hour and a half to write a 500-word article. For longer articles, which would be up to 1,200 words per post, you should be planning between 2 to 3 hours to write those. For social media on Wednesdays, you'll go ahead and plan your post schedule for the following week. This is where you can consider using theme days like Motivation Monday or Throwback Thursday, Fun Friday, that sort of thing. On Thursdays, for blogging, you'll go ahead and proofread the post that you wrote the day before, as well as pull and add any images that you want to use. So that's going to be creating any graphics using Canva or using your stock image resource of choice and pulling those images. For social media, you'll go ahead and draft your posts for the following week. And then on Friday, you'll go ahead and upload your blog posts, as well as draft any promotional social media posts for your blog. This is a really great way of driving more traffic to your website and your blog. And then for social media, you'll go ahead and proofread and then schedule your social media posts, including the promotional posts for your blog.
Great. So again, this is just a real practical day by day and week by week outline that you can follow and you can amend for your own particular needs. But at least it gives you a realistic starting place if you're trying to do this on your own, or you have somebody on your team who's trying to get started and trying to figure out how you're going to manage it all. So we're going to dive into now a weekly social media content outline that includes both promotional and non-promotional posts. We've laid this out Monday through Sunday for you. And of course, you can adjust this to suit your specific nonprofit. And before we dive into exactly what kind of posts you can be posting on what day and diving into the very, very specific calendar that we've put together for you, we're going to talk a little bit about demographics. One of the challenges that I have found with a lot of nonprofit organizations is that they really think that they need to be everywhere on social media in order to get the best visibility. And it's just not true. What you need to do is focus on the platforms where your demographic lives and then manage that particular platform or platforms really well. So Shanae is going to go over specific platform demographics so you can learn where the different people are that may appeal to your organization.
All right, so to get started, Instagram, the primary audience is people aged 18 to age 29. Instagram skews a bit female, so 48% of users are male and 52% are female. Facebook, the primary audience is a little bit older, so that's people aged 30 to 49. Facebook also skews female, so 46% of users are male and 56% are female. Twitter is also a little bit older. The average audience for Twitter is aged 35 to 65. And Twitter actually skews fairly heavily male, so 66% of users are male and 44% are female. LinkedIn is also a little bit older, so that's going to be people aged 30 to 49. LinkedIn skews male again, so 57% of users are male and 43% are female. And then finally for Pinterest, Pinterest is a bit on the younger side, so the primary audience is people aged 18 to 39. And then Pinterest skews heavily female. 29% of users are male and 71% of users are female. So in addition to choosing the social media platforms that best fit your specific audience, it's important to think about the best times of day to post for each platform. So to start with Instagram, we recommend posting at 9 a.m., 12 p.m., and or 7 p.m. For Facebook, best times of day to post are 8 a.m., 12 p.m., and 6 p.m. For Twitter, it's going to be 9 a.m., 11 a.m., and 2 p.m. For LinkedIn, we would recommend 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. And then finally for Pinterest, 11 a.m., 4 p.m., and 9 p.m. These are based off of general demographic data that has been collected over time. And these are a great starting point when you're first putting together your social media content strategy. However, it's also really important for you to pay attention to your own specific analytics and your own specific audience. So if you notice your audience is mostly online in the morning, and that's when you get the most engagement, you should be posting more in the morning rather than in the evening. And the same goes the other way around. If you notice that your audience, maybe your audience is primarily focused, people who have 8 to 5 jobs, so they're not online during the day and they're only online after 5 p.m., then that would be a great time to adjust your strategy so that you're posting from 5 p.m. onwards.
Great. So I know that Melissa is sending around a copy of the presentation, and she's also sending around a copy of these next several slides. And what these next several slides are, and we're only going to go over one of them just to show you how it works, is really a day-by-day outline of what you can post on every single social media platform to actually give you a guide and a template for what you can do for your content marketing strategy. So this is Monday, and if you're posting on Instagram, we're suggesting you do a non-promotional image at 9 and another non-promotional image at 12. On Facebook, a promotional article at 8 a.m., non-promotional at noon. On Twitter, a non-promotional tweet at 9, a promotional image at 11, a promotional tweet at 2, and those could be a retweet in there as well if you wanted. And then on LinkedIn, 2 non-promotional articles, one at 11, one at 4. And on Pinterest, a couple of repins with a new description, one at 11 and one at 4. And then again, a pin, a promotional update at 9 p.m. And Shanae, if you go on to the next slide for Tuesday, I just want to show how this varies a little bit. So it's the same thing where you can see what you can post every single day and the specific times of day to post, but it'll change between non-promotional image and promotional image. So you can literally take this, it's coming to you not only in this PowerPoint presentation, but also in a Word document that you can modify on your own and create this for your organization, or you can just follow this template as is. But it gives you a really good foundation for where to start to create a very specific content calendar for your particular business. All right, and Shanae, you want to go to the next slide? Great. So we just wanted to give you our contact information and show where you can find us on social media. So our website address for 3 Girls Media is 3girlsmedia.com. The phone number there is my personal cell phone. So you can actually text me at that number, you can call me at that number, and we can arrange a time to talk, or I'm happy to talk to you then and there if I happen to be free. And then we have mine and Shanae's email addresses. Feel free to email either one of us. We do offer a complimentary consultation. So we're happy to sit down and talk to you one-on-one about your specific nonprofit and throw around some ideas and see how we can help you out there. And then we've also put where you can find us on social media, so you can always look at our channels and see kind of how we manage our social platforms as well. And then we're happy to open it up to any questions that anybody may have. All right, I'm not seeing any questions right now, but that's okay. As you get this PowerPoint, what are the best times to send, times of day to send? Do you mean like a press release? Oh, e-news, an e-newsletter. Great question. So we've actually found that recently 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday or Thursday is the best time of day to send an e-newsletter. And so we'd actually just changed this strategy ourselves for our own organization, where we were sending it in the morning around 10 or 11 o'clock. But we're actually finding, based on some data that we found, that drying it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon has actually given us more engagement, more clicks, and more opens. You're welcome. And I see somebody has a raised hand.
Hi, that's Sienna. And my question was around the posting. So sometimes a lot of our posts are in direct correlation to resources that are offered in the community. And so as I'm kind of going through and preparing for Give Local this year, I'm wondering, how does that factor into the different categories around posting? Because, you know, community resources, so when you talk about that 80-20, we do a lot of the 80 already, because we're resharing resources and things that we think our community should know, just based on the organizations we follow or we are made aware of. So how does posting and resharing community resources fall into that umbrella of posting?
Yeah, so that would be non-promotional content. So
Okay.
be part of your 80%, because even though it's something that's related to your organization, it's not necessarily specifically about your organization. So it would be non-promotional.
And follow up to that one. We post only as it comes up, so it's difficult to kind of get it on a schedule, if you will. Any recommendations that you would have for kind of aligning the randomness of when things come up from different organizations, but also at the same time trying to create, trying to systematize, if you will, a time and date that those get posted to fall into that routine?
Yeah, so that's really difficult if you're constantly getting random information, random days and times, and being able to fit that into your schedule, especially if it's time sensitive. You know, I think in that situation, the best thing that you can do is set up excellent communication with your partner organizations, and maybe have a protocol where, maybe say twice a month, the first week and the second week of the month, you're going to send an email to your partner organizations and say, what do you have coming up in the next 2 weeks and what's important to you? And trying to get that information a little bit in advance so you can plan it into your schedule, and you're not just relying on waiting for them to email you something that's going on.
Thank you, Erika.
Sure.
Yes, we have a couple of additional questions in the chat. The first one is, what are the best ways to grow your email or physical address lists?
Sure. So for email marketing, there are a couple different things you can do. There are some programs that will allow you to have a bot on your website where there'll actually be a little pop-up or a little banner on your website where you can say, provide your email address and get a great article from us. And it can simply be one of your blog articles, or maybe a white paper or something like that you've repurposed, and they can automatically get downloaded if they give you your email address. You can also do that through contests. On social media, you can have people private message you their email addresses to participate in a certain contest or something like that. For physical email addresses, or for physical mailing addresses, you can do the same thing on social media. If you're running some kind of promotion or contest or quiz or something like that, have people private message you with their mailing address information. And then also, I would say anytime you're having an event or people calling into your organization, there's an opportunity there for the receptionist to always ask, do you mind if I get your email address so I can put you on our newsletter list or something like that? And that's just a matter of staff training and getting people in the habit of doing it. You're welcome.
Yeah, and then we have another question. So for some background, I was wondering about creating an audience. We wanted to advertise some of our services. When I went to create an audience, it seems like I could only build an audience that was perhaps wealthier. However, we want to advertise our resources to those who are lower income. Is there any way to do this?
Yeah, was it a specific platform you were trying to do that on?
And people could feel free to come off mute to clarify questions. Looks like a Facebook.
Facebook, yes. So on Facebook, you can absolutely market to people of different financial demographics. Absolutely. So you can either not specify it at all in your audience selection, or if you're trying to reach, which is the best way to go to reach everyone at all income levels, or if you're trying to reach maybe people who are higher income for donations or something like that, you can specify that in the, I believe it's in the interests section of the audience building where you can specify income level. But if you don't put anything at all and don't specify it at all, it's going to go to everyone at all income levels. And it sounds like that's probably the best choice for what you're trying to do.
Thank you. So we have another, so we got, can you speak a bit about interacting with posts, how to encourage it, how much to respond? Is it effective to drive more engagement by engaging with pure organizations posts?
Absolutely. It is a great way to drive engagement by relating or interacting with peer organizations posts, especially if you're retweeting them. It's a great way to be able to share somebody else's post and tag them in it and say, you know, oh, thanks to whatever organization for this great information, post it to your own platform, you've tagged them. And so they can then come back and like it with your in your feed. So that's a great way to go. And then also in terms of engagement, a great way to get engagement is simply to ask questions. Ask people to do something. So ask them, what do you think about this? Tell us in the comments. Or what's your favorite XYZ? Tell us in the comments. When was the last time you did ABC? Tell us in the comments. And really encourage people to comment on your posts. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make in not doing that. It's perfectly fine to do it, and it's a great way to drive engagement. And then if somebody's commenting on your post, you should definitely respond back, even if it's just an emoji, a thumbs up or a smiley face, or you know, oh, we think that's great, something of that nature to really help you build those online relationships.
Yeah, and just to kind of tag on to that, we actually, regarding the engaging with peer organizations last week with one of our other presenters, we actually, the participants wanted to build their own kind of like group of networking. And so I put together a small like Word document of all the participants who wanted to have their information included. I have a document for everyone to kind of network better. So it has the name of their organization, a contact person, and all of their social media outlets. And if people want to, feel free to be added to that list. You can go ahead and just email me and I can get you added to that and send the list out to people because I kind of just have it as a Dropbox link so that way it can get updated regularly and you'll have that link so you can come and check on it and add new people, or if you want to connect with other people, you can go ahead and feel free to contact them directly.
And I saw somebody ask if it's better to respond to a comment with another comment or just a like or something like that. it's always better to respond to a comment. You want to engage a conversation. Again, it's kind of like being at a networking event or cocktail party. If you say something and the person across from you just kind of casually nods their head, that's the equivalent of a like. It's different if they actually respond to you and say something back. So that's always the best way to go.
Thanks. So I don't see any questions right now in the chat, but I did pull up the list of different kind of like thoughts that people had prior to when they first signed up for this workshop. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through a few of those just to see if you want to expand on a few of them.
Sure.
One of the ones is what are ways that our local community is using social media, like in promotional ways and marketing that has been successful that you've seen?
Yeah, so I think if you are a very local organization, embrace your community. You can talk about other things happening in the nearby area. You can talk about inspiring news stories that you've seen in the news or in the Olympian or in the Yelm Online or Jolt News or things of that nature. You can talk about I know that with the pandemic, there aren't really any events going on right now, but in normal times, you could certainly talk about community events that were happening, whether or not you were participating in them, and just show that you care about your community and you care about the other small businesses, the other organizations, the other nonprofits. You can always do a shout out to another nonprofit, even if they're not in your particular space of what it is your particular message is. You can say, hey, we wanted to give a shout out to such and such organization. We think they're doing terrific work. And again, tag them in the social media post. And it's a great way, again, to expand yourself to another audience and to show that you're really part of the community.
Awesome, thanks. Does someone have a question? No. All right, no worries. Well, perfect. Well, another one that I had in here was they said, although my role is not specifically geared towards fundraising from an individual donor's perspective, like in marketing in general, what are the applications of social media and its close connection to grant writing objectives that would be beneficial?
Sure. So I'll be completely honest that I don't write grants, so I don't know a lot about the technical aspects of it. But one thing that I have learned from writing a lot of government proposals, which we do because we do government work, is that the people that we are sending these things to are checking us out online, right? They want to know who it is potentially they're going to be working with or where their money is going to be going and what that organization is like. And so it's much like a job interview where if you're hiring somebody new, chances are you're going to look at their social media profiles. It's just the way we do things these days. And so keep in mind that if you're writing a grant, that the people on the other end of it are likely checking you out online. So it's a good reason to stay consistent and current with your social media.
That's helpful, thank you. So let's see, what else do we got? Obviously, if anyone else has questions that they think of right now, feel free to jump in. I'm just kind of perusing what people had commented on. So it looks like we have, here's one that says, one of the benefits of the pandemic has been the accumulation of content being forced to be 100% virtual, which is a new position for us to be in. And so we're looking for expertise to leverage that content more strategically. So what are some additional, kind of ways that people can make that shift to online if they weren't normally there?
It's really a hard transition for a lot of people to go from working in a traditional office to going to work online. At Three Girls Media, we've been a remote virtual agency for 13 years. So fortunately, the pandemic didn't affect us at all. We were already doing it. But we've been able to give a lot of advice to other people who this is something new for. And one of the things that I highly recommend is getting into a routine. It's very easy when you're home to get distracted by the TV or the laundry or the dishes or the dog or the cat or, whatever. And so make yourself a routine and stick to it. And you also want to build in breaks, right? You want to build in a regular lunch break, regular 15-minute breaks, just like you would if you were at a traditional office to go have a coffee or just walk away and handle the laundry during that 15 minutes of time. And by getting in a regular routine and really sticking to it and setting those regular work hours every day, it's easier for you to plug in a content marketing strategy and say, okay, today's Monday, here's what I should be doing for my content. All right, it's Tuesday, here's what I should be doing for my content. But getting that regular schedule, I find, is really, really key.
Awesome.
To add on to what Erika was saying, for organizations that are primarily used to using print media, so things like brochures that you're maybe handing out at events or like direct mailers that are sent through the mail, there are many, many ways to take those kinds of collateral and use them digitally. So we obviously can't go to events right now and hand out brochures, but you can always turn it into a PDF and put it on your website and then have a link on your homepage that says, for more information, check out our online brochure, and then just have it pop up as a PDF or downloadable as a PDF. There's also, for like direct mailers, you could turn that into, instead of a physical print media, you could turn that into like a small email marketing campaign and send it that way instead. For things like posters or invitations to different events, you can always do an Evite instead. Again, send that either over social media or through email. So there's a lot of ways to take things that you've done in the physical media and turn it into digital media as well.
That's great, Shanae. And you can do the same with a newsletter. If you're normally used to having a print newsletter that you would mail out or send out, you can turn that into an e-newsletter as well.
Nice. So what are some ways and like strategies for specific marketing for like campaigns? So campaigns like Give Local and other maybe online fundraising events.
Yeah, so I think the number one thing is to make sure that you understand what your goals are specifically. If it's a fundraising campaign, how much money you're trying to raise and in what time frame, and then keeping your audience notified of your progress. So even if it's something like, hey, we raised $50 more today, we're really excited about that. We have such and such way to go. We'd love your contribution. Every dollar counts, that kind of thing. And trying to get people excited about it. Especially if you're doing fundraising around the holidays or when a lot of other organizations are doing fundraising, it's important that you keep the energy up and the excitement up and give people a reason to want to follow you and want to be inspired by you to donate.
Yeah, which are definitely going to be really in handy for, especially a lot of people are switching their annual fundraisers to online in one form or another. So I think it's helpful
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that occurs to me is that you don't have to fundraise in one place. So it doesn't have to just be social media. You can do it through your e-newsletter. You can do it through your website. You can write a blog about it. You can really try to sprinkle it in as many different places as you possibly can throughout your organization to increase your online visibility, especially now with the pandemic.
So true. I know, I feel like I'm seeing myself everywhere when I'm posting stuff. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I was like, oh, hey, I did post there. I forgot. I also, I think the last one that I got is, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but there's a question about like wanting to learn how to differentiate messaging across platforms.
Yeah, good question. So each different platform has its own personality. And if you go back to the demographic slide where we were talking about the different core age ranges for each particular demographic, this is going to give you an idea of how to talk to that audience. So for Instagram, it's obviously a much younger audience. LinkedIn is a much older audience, and we know that LinkedIn is a professional audience. So the language, tone, verbiage that you're going to use on LinkedIn is going to be very professional, very business-like, and whatnot. As we're on Instagram, you're talking about Gen Z, you're talking about Gen X, millennials. So you can be talking more friendly, casual, down to earth. You can even use slang if it's appropriate for your particular organization, and so on and so forth. So you kind of have to get in the mindset of the demographic for each particular social media platform, and that will give you a guideline of how to speak to that particular audience.
Awesome. Well, that is all the questions that I had from the registrations. If anyone else right now has any questions, feel free to put it in the chat, or if you want to just come off mute, you can go ahead and ask it while we're here. Give it a few minutes. I guess, do we want to show your contact information in case people want to get a hold of you again?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned, we're happy to talk with you one-on-one. We offer that complimentary consultation where we've got 30 minutes to chat about your organization specifically and how we might be able to help you.
Oh, I'm not seeing any hands or anything in the chat for the moment. So I think if people, so if people have further questions, you can go ahead and get a hold of Erika or Shanae, or you can get a hold of me, either way, and just let us know what those questions are. We'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. And I will be sending out this recording as well as all of the additional materials that I was provided so graciously by Three Girls Media. So that way we can hopefully help everyone along with this new world that we're kind of finding ourselves in the virtual place. So that way everyone can be a little more comfortable, but still stay connected. Thanks so much for joining us, Erika and Shanae.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Absolutely. Be happy to do it.
Yeah, thanks. Well, perfect. Well, I think that's it. So I will hopefully catch everyone. I will catch up with everyone later.
All right. Thank you. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.